The purpose of this video is to help you in solving problems that involve using the law of cosines. And when you're asked to find the law of cosines, there's two scenarios that could be created. Scenario number one is when you are missing a side. That missing side is going to be the first thing that you write down. The second scenario could be you're missing an angle. That's going to be the last thing. Now notice with that first and last value, those are side and angle that are directly across from each other. Very important. So the first thing I want to do is let's make sure that we can set up the law of cosines properly. In this first problem, they want me to find side BC, which I'm going to call X. In order to find BC, I'm going to write down the law of cosines that says X squared is equal to 24 squared plus 22 squared minus 2 times 24 times 22 times the cosine of 78 degrees. Now we're going to come back and we're going to look at how the calculator helps me to do this. In the second scenario, they want me to find an angle. There's my angle, which tells me I have to start with the side across from it. So I have 13 squared equals 12 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 12 times 9 times the cosine of angle A. All right, so back to the first scenario. In the first scenario, I have to find X, which means this whole right side, I simply need to change into a number. All right, I'm going to have my calculator help me do all that work. So I'm going to take 24 squared plus 22 squared minus 2 times 24 times 22, and just so you can see, I'm literally typing everything in, times the cosine of 78. Close that off. That gives me 840 and some change. This is what X squared is equal to. Now, I want to take the square root of this decimal number here. The calculator can do this for me. I'm going to go second X squared, which gets me the square root function, and then second negative, which puts the previous answer in there. I hit enter, and now I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, which would make this 29.0. And if you notice, guys, the whole key to the law of cosines is you got to know how to operate your calculator. All right, so in the second scenario, we have to move everything that's on the same side as the cosine of A over to the left side. Now be very careful, because if you notice right here, those three values are multiplying together and they're also multiplying the cosine, which means to move this group over, I'm going to have to use division, opposite operations. I like to do these problems one step at a time. So here we go. I'm going to start with 13 squared. All right. I have to move 12 squared over. So I'm going to subtract from that 169, 12 squared. That gives me 25. I now need to move the 9 squared over by subtraction. So I subtract 9 squared, and I'm now at negative 56. I'm ready to move all this part over here in blue over to the left. But to move that, I have to divide. So I'm going to divide that answer I had by this group that I'm multiplying. Parenthesis, negative 2. Notice what button I hit down on the bottom. I didn't hit the subtraction. If you hit the subtraction here, it's going to give you an error message. But I'm going to take negative 2 times 12 times 9. Close it off. And perform that division. I get this decimal. This is what the cosine of angle A is equal to. To find an angle in trig, we use inverse trig. So I'm going to take the inverse cosine of this decimal, which I'm going to have the calculator help me do. Second answer, close it off, equals, and round to the nearest degree, which would be 75 degrees. So I know that angle A is 75 degrees. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any other questions. about the law of cosines.